Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world, and this is a quote from Nelson Mandela. Good morning and welcome to Ray's Breakfast, your trusted space for real conversations that matter. I am Oluchi Precious Omenka, and as always, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Today, we're stepping into a story that touches on the hopes and the frustration of Nigerian students again. A story that's stirring emotion and demanding accountability. We're discussing the UNICAL admission controversy, where students of the Faculty of Dentistry are not just attending classes, they are attending protests, accusing the school of admission fraud and threatening legal action. It's just myself and my co-anchor today, God's Beauty Israel, but the heat is real and so are the questions. So please stay with us because this isn't just about one school, it's about the bigger picture in our educational system. So let's dive in. Good morning, God's Beauty.
Good morning. The heat is real. I love it.
I'm trying to be like you at this point, to use the verbiage that you usually use. So how are you doing this morning?
Beautiful, thank you.
I can see that the color combo is giving me. I think I'm already influencing you.
I think so too.
I think so.
How are you?
I'm good. So there's a lot of things that are trending recently, and I just saw one this morning. No, I saw it over the weekend or maybe during, but I was just passing like, oh, they've come again with their, trendy words and everything. But I think Gossip Gala, you guys had to stretch it a little bit. Nepo babies and Lapo babies. So when I first saw the whole Lapo thing, I just remember the microfinance bank. I'm like, are they trying to connect things together?
I know.
So I had to just go back to really check the background of the story. And I think it's a very interesting discourse in the Nigerian space today, especially on X. And there are a lot of context to it, stemming from Otedola's book to somebody's reaction to his book, and how people perceive the rich, the wealthy, and those that are struggling. And I want to ask you, what's your perception to this particular story, the rich and the poor in Nigeria?
So what I would say is, like I think I explained a bit, yesterday on Gossip Gala. Now, the thing is, I love the angle that, the guy that came out to give us all the whole history. I love the fact that he gave us that context. I mean, the fact that you're telling us that the likes of Dangote did not just, if not that he has an uncle that was able to loan him a certain amount, he probably would not be where he is today. I get that point. But then is it important that we read certain books that put us in line and, teach us on how to manage our funds, financial literacy in that sense? So yes, I feel like it's a two-way thing, right? So why we get the part that, I mean, somehow you need somebody to be able to push you, or you need that money to be able to now invest and get into, I mean, for the longest of time, for every time we have one small joke around a certain amount of money, I'm always thinking about, this is now, the kind of money that I need to start up probably a car business or something relating to that. So yes, we of course need the funds to be able to push up and all, but then you also need books to put you on it, right? Teach you how to even manage that funds that you're even given in the first place.
So what I perceived from the story is the guy felt like, please, people should keep all your motivation. Exactly.
That's what
all you rich people that already had the access and privilege. But you know what I actually think about that story? That it's not entirely true.
That's what I'm saying.
That there are still certain fundamentals to growing wealth, whether or not you came from a rich background.
Exactly.
Because there are still stories of people that had it all figured out. I mean, from their family tree, you can see that they had wealth, in their disposal. But today, they're not amounting to anything.
They're looking like Lapo babies.
Exactly. And then there are some people that they did not have any benefit, any privilege at all. And today, they are making waves. I mean, look at Vicky James, for example. She always does Ajegule to Forbes. I'm not sure Vicky was a Nepo babe.
National.
Right? Now, she's actually the Nepo babe. And she's creating that for her children. Solomon Buchi even came out recently to talk about his struggling period when he was with his parents, how that he had to look for money to even go to Polytechnic at that point. But today, his children are British citizens, right? And I think he said something about third-generation citizens and all of that, meaning that he's already creating nepotism for them in that sense. So I think the fundamentals of wealth is still the same, regardless of where you come from. But at the end of the day, sometimes where you come from, it still
Let's not lie.
It still does, help us. But I think this is a call for us to, treat wealth, treat resources with a lot of intentionality. Yes, don't just like you have wealth at your disposal. I'll do as I want. It's a treasurable something. That is something. It's treasurable and it ought to be treated as such. So it's an interesting one. Let's see how Twitter takes this. Because Twitter is one space that they can drag things and bring different context to it. And I think it's interesting.
Yes,
but today we're discussing something quite critical and very, very essential at this point in time. So I want you to stay tuned to the very end of the show. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll look to the newspaper headlines today and then go straight to our hot topic. So please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, our valued viewers. Remember, you are the main ingredient in all of our conversations, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Our phone lines are open. Please call us on 0702-500-7749 or 0701424220. And if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, head on now to the official Upgrade TV. Click the subscribe button, like, share the link, tune into channel 145 on your Go TV, and do not miss this for anything. Now we're going to be scanning the pages of the top newspaper. We have the Punch, the Guardian, and of course the international papers, and God's beauty would lead us with the international papers.
All right, straight into the South China Morning Post. Just beneath the masthead, we have the conundrum for transport chief. Next to that, why workers still carry the burden. Next to that as well, high-speed rail to be upgraded. All right, beneath that, we have tenders withdrawn for 2 sites to speed up mega project. Then dominating the headline, we have back to business after battering with WIFA. And bottom of the newspaper, we have Beijing slams EU banking sanctions ahead of summit. And that's the headline we'll be taking on because I'm a bit confused as to what EU's problem is on this one now. All right, in details, we have Beijing has called on the European Union to immediately cease its wrong practice, in quote now, wrong practice, of sanctioning 2 Chinese banks, vowing to take action to defend the interest of Chinese companies just days ahead of a key leaders summit. Now, China expresses strong dissatisfaction and opposition to this move. China's Ministry of Commerce said in a statement on Monday. Now, China will take necessary measures to safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies and financial institutions. So there's no proper details on why exactly the EU wants to sanction the Chinese, companies at this point. About 2 companies that, they want to sanction. We don't have good details as to why exactly that is happening. But then I know there's a summit coming up on this Thursday. So I hope that, before then, we hear the news about it. And that's even one of the reasons why it's making, headway. The fact that, Beijing had to quickly tell the European Union that, Oga, if you do anything, we'll actually show you back. Instead of waiting for the summit to happen, that's this Thursday, so that they can probably have the conversation. But the fact that Beijing just went straight to say, if you sanction our companies, would of course, will of course respond. So I really just hope that, before Thursday, we're able to get full details on what exactly is happening. Or maybe on Thursday itself, they can, expatiate a bit on what exactly is happening and why the European Union wants to sanction the Chinese companies. But honestly speaking, I just wanted to also say that I don't know why, other countries, don't somehow allow Chinese or China to breathe in that sense. To be honest, if it is not the United States, it is probably, maybe Taiwan. If it's not Taiwan, it is, the European Union in that sense. And, of course, the European Union is not just one person. It's a group, like different countries coming together. So I really don't know what it is exactly they have, the issues they have with, with Beijing or even the Chinese company in that sense. But I hope before, Thursday, which is the summit, we'll be able to have full details. But of course, that's all I have for you on the South China Morning Post this morning.
I'm smiling.
Tell me.
Because you just spoke like you're a patriot of the country, China.
Adopted citizen.
I don't know why they're always after the Chinese people. But I'm sure, I don't think a body is recognized or as how would I put it, as influential as that, would just go by feelings to sanction companies. There will definitely be reasons why these companies are being sanctioned. Maybe they probably are not meeting up to certain rules, regulations, or guidelines that are given to them. So, to take a non-biased point of view, we'll wait till the full story uncovers and we get to see who exactly deserves the sanction.
I agree.
But okay. The Nigerian papers has very, very interesting stories, and I'm starting with the Punch. The major headline here reads, Electricity Act Fallout. Gencos, Discos rage as state begins tariff cuts. Enugu Defense Power Bill slash as Ondo, Plateau, and others join tariff cuts. Gencos threatens shutdown. Pension revolt. IG vows action after ex-police officer nationwide protest. Services sector fuels 3.13% economic growth. Gunmen shoot 2 Nigerians dead in South Africa. Awujale, Ogun government prepares for legal battle with Ifa Council. Above the major headline, we see businesses expect rate cuts as MPC reconvenes today. NAS showdown. Natasha faces police blockade today, 2027. Fresh LP crisis as Obi rejects Dati Abure peace deal. And the last story on the Punch reads, Nigeria now spends half of its revenue on debt, and this is from the presidential panel. Before I go into the electricity story, there's a very disturbing one here about Nigerians that were shot dead, in South Africa, and it's really alarming. Why do we have this happening? It's not essentially like a new thing. We expect things like this to happen when you are dealing with humans, but I think this particular story should not just go uncovered. It should really be brought to book, because these are Nigerians in a foreign country, and if something happens to our people in a foreign country, the Nigerian government and that government over there should answer questions. Do you understand? Gunmen, what kind of gunmen? Is it just, were they assassins? Were they paid for it? Was it just a hit and miss? What exactly happened? And of course, my condolences to the people affected, in this. Now, going back to the Electricity Act story, we wanted to even talk about this whole electricity thing, because I think there's like really juicy updates recently, from that sector. But recently, again, there's been some changes in the tariff, starting with Enugu. Enugu started something. I don't know if they're ready to complete it, but let me let you in on what they started. It says more states have announced plans to reduce electricity tariffs in their jurisdiction after the Enugu Electricity Regulatory Commission issued a new tariff order to Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited, revising the electricity cost for Band A customers from 209 naira per kilowatt hour to 160 naira per kilowatt hour, effective August 1st, 2025. This was, however, vehemently opposed by power generation and distribution companies, who claimed that the move may cripple the sector, as the GenCos declared that the industry is indebted to power producers to the tune of over 5 trillion naira. Now, as the GenCos and DISCOs attacked Enugu State over its move on Monday, the state insisted on its decision, stressing that it followed all required processes to arrive at the new 160 naira, new price power tariff for Band A customers or consumers. This is a very interesting story, because it puts me, myself, I'm at the fence right now. Do you know why I'm at the fence? Because anything that would generally make life easier for people, I would almost subscribe to it. I mean, I'm not yet thinking of the economic implication, to some economists that are saying, oh, it will affect this, it will affect that. I'm thinking about how the, standard of living can be better for people. And the Enugu State Power Holding Company, or what are they called now, Regulatory Commission, recently came out to reduce their tariff for Band A from 209 to 160. But this is causing a lot of concerns, to the people, to the GenCos and DISCOs and the people in charge of this sector themselves, saying that this is going to cripple a lot of things because of the loans and the debt that they still have to pay. But they're coming out to say that they've done their due process, and they've not just arrived at this particular amount just because they want to help people become better, but because they've seen that it is actually viable. It can actually, thrive in this place. And it's a very interesting discourse. I think this is one conversation we need to hear expert opinion on, because what exactly is the implication of this? As much as there are the pros and the cons, would the, when you start out with good pros, like, oh, this is the reason why I wanted to do it, at the end of the day, it could backfire in a much terrible way. They were paying 209 naira per kilowatts before. You reduce it to 160. It makes sense until maybe in a few months, you now realize that there's heavy debt waiting for you somewhere. And then you now come back to these same consumers to increase what they were paying 209 to probably 250. Do you get it? It's almost like, oh, you saved us for a little while, only to give us more burden later. So I think this really should be looked at in a very holistic way, beyond the sentiment and the happiness that comes with, oh, there's a bit of relief for us now. Do you understand? And recently, I think other states said joining forces that, yes, and thank you for leading the way. I think Plateau and some other states wanted to get involved in this, and it's a very interesting one. It has its pros, it has its cons, but if we look at it critically and come to a proper consensus, everybody should be happy at the end of the day. That's a quote from one of my favorite lecturers in school. He says, at the end of the day, all of us will be happy. All right, taking you through the Guardian newspaper, there are some interesting updates there as well. It says, the major headline, electricity tariff imbalance, repeating the story, triggers new subsidy inefficiency debate. Above that, it says, Shettima laments depletion of 90% forest cover. 2027 PDP declares Tinubu bad product, convenes IOI's NEC meeting. Awujale's burial, there will be grave repercussion, says Ogun traditional chief. Pardon me. We have stories also on the police forum. Force, pardon me, says IGP pledges reform as retired officers protest poor pension under contributory scheme. Confusion in LP as Dati walks tightrope amid factions and coalition moves. Falano, Sani faults Kemi Badnoch over citizenship claim. We also have stories here. It says state and FCT unutilized 250 billion naira education grant worries UBEC. Nigeria's GDP hits 373 trillion naira and remains fourth biggest in Africa after rebasing. Court orders for future of $222,729 recovered from Chinese nationals. All right, let's talk about this whole pension thing. Kiki mentioned it very, very briefly yesterday. And I think from my own point of view, she was saying that some progress had been made in that sense. It was giving a positive vibe in that sense. But what we're seeing here with pensions, especially in the police force, there are a lot of things that we really need to look at. IGP pledges reform as retired officers protest poor pension under contributory scheme. So now this is the context of the story. Ex-officers lament systemic injustice, 30,000 naira monthly stipend after 35 years of service. Can you imagine that? My pension after serving you 35 years is 30,000 naira monthly. That's not even up to minimum wage. That is really outrageous. Sowore blames insecurity on federal government's neglect of police welfare. Also says here that IGP meets NSA over pension, urges patients, warns retirees against manipulation. NLC and government abandoning governance for 2027, crushing dissent, stealing workers' sweat. You know, we could go on and give full details of this story. Okay, I think there's something here that says, I'm sure already, protesters said many retirees received as little as 2 million naira after serving the nation for 35 years, blaming their financial hardship on the CPS. This is really outrageous. It does not speak well of that force. We complain, we criticize the police force a lot. We say, oh, they're not efficient, oh, they're corrupt, there are a lot of things happening there. But if you're going to be human and really look at how these people are being taken care of, sometimes it's almost like it is expected to see this kind of attitude play out. Imagine somebody serving for 35 years and my pension fee is looking like 30,000 naira monthly stipend. What exactly am I using that for? Do you understand? I think the reforms are necessary at this point. This particular industry or sector really need to be taken care of. Their welfare is of great importance. If we want to see security become better in our nation, we have a lot of insecurity problems in the northern areas, in different areas. I mean, you cannot take away even though we have community police and, you know, the vigilantes, as we call them, you can't say take away the role that the Nigerian police should play in every corner of the country. Do you understand? But if their welfare is already shaky, where is the progress? Where's it going to come from at this point? And of course, Sowore has been championing the protests and, you know, the call for reforms. And I'm hoping that it gets to the right people. I mean, if you can pay your senators good amount of money, why can't you pay them?
Secure them. Exactly.
Why can't you pay them good amount of money as well? I don't even want to like open the story to the point where like it's really pinching me. But if we pay some people some large amount of money, millions of naira, there's nothing bad in also making these people have the right, you know, finances as well to sort their welfare. What do you have to say before we wrap up this
Honestly speaking, I mean, I feel like you've actually spoken well. It's kind of, it's a Nigerian thing because at this point, there's nothing else I want to add to this. How exactly are you paying, somebody 30,000 naira? What is 30,000 naira? Like,
is it
for a bar? Is it for Gary? Like, make it make sense, right? So I just hope that, this is, channeled to the right source and they, of course, ensure that these reforms are, redone and all of that. Because how exactly, I mean, I feel like this is not even if it's in a working system, this is not something that people, you need to now, talk about almost every time for it to happen. Since there was an increase with the minimum wage, every other thing too that is supposed to be attached to that should have changed as well, including this. How is minimum wage, 70-something, and you're paying somebody 30,000 naira?
It's not only this sector that is suffering. I think we read it recently that some schools, I think about 9 states, haven't paid teachers this particular minimum wage.
Imagine.
So it's as if the minimum wage was signed in, some people sat on some people's salary to say no. You're not going to get your own dividend. Doesn't even make sense.
Now.
And looking at what has been happening in different sectors so far, a lot of people are getting angry and agitated beyond the regular, the average man, as we call it. Look at it in the medical space. Doctors are going on strike soon because of some inefficiencies that we see. And these ones are, looking at protesting, and it's showing that we need a lot of sectorial reforms in that sense, so that our sectors, our systems will run appropriately and make our country grow. And that's where we wrap up today's conversation. Remember, our topic today is UNICAL admission controversy. Students fight for their rights. We're revisiting this topic again because it's still trendy and it's of great importance. So please stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Welcome back. We're going to uncover this story, UNICAL admission controversy, students fight for their right. A university is meant to be a place of dreams and not of drama. Yet in recent weeks, the University of Calabar has found itself in the eye of the storm, with students of the Faculty of Dentistry raising their voices not in celebration of achievement, but in protest of injustice. The issue, an over-admission crisis that has left many students stranded, uncertain, and disillusioned. Now, they're not just protesting on campus, they're threatening legal action, labeling the situation as an admission fraud. Their peaceful demonstration at the South-South Zonal Constitutional Review hearing in Calabar was loud, symbolic, and intentional. Today, we're asking the big question: who is to blame? What solutions are viable? And what does this say about our higher education system in Nigeria? Of course, I'll be having the conversation with God's Beauty Israel. All right, so, wow. Every time I get to talk about university stories, like, it hits a particular spot in my heart, because I can almost relate to it very personally, and because I have an experience from the university sector just very recently. So it's something that really hits deep. I remember the last time I had a conversation with Kiki after the show. We spent almost how many minutes again still talking. I was literally on fire, because I felt like there's a lot of injustice that's happening. We've actually revisited spoken about this conversation before. We had a guest, in the Dentistry Association come talk to us and open up certain things about it. But before then, there wasn't a strike yet. Do you understand? It was just, something that was spoken of very briefly. But right now, it's already escalating. When a news came and everybody's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? When you see that there's no way forward, like, help, 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 is giving all of that. And it's really, really worrisome. So I'd like to just, give a bit bit of context to exactly what happened in case some of our viewers missed the previous show. But of course, you can always catch it on our YouTube channel. So the University of Calabar is currently embroiled in a controversy involving the over-admission of students into the Faculty of Dentistry. Report shows that the students admitted more expected than its approved quota by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, MDCN, the regulatory body responsible for ensuring quality and standards in medical education. The MDCN flagged the irregularity, prompting the universities to suspend the academic progress of the excess students. And these students who had spent time, effort, and money were suddenly told that their admission may be invalid. And this has led to protests, public outcry, and threats of legal action by the students. The story escalated further when this affected students strategically protested at the National Assembly venue for the constitutional review hearing, bringing the issue to national attention. And at its core, the crisis reflects a conflict between admission practices, regulatory frameworks, and administrative accountability. All of this grammar I've spoken is just to give us context to what's really happening. And the fact that, this protest has been strategic in the sense that they're going to specific places. You can see the pictures displayed on the screen. They're going to specific places to let their cry out. And yet I haven't seen any press release from the people we expect to actually talk about this. And I'm referring to the Minister of Education. I'm referring to different bodies. Well, maybe the Vice Chancellor came out to say a few things which didn't exactly hold water, in my own opinion. I apologize if this comes out wrong. But it did not hold opinion to how grievous, the gravity in that sense of the case. You understand? And I'm like, what exactly is happening? Is this particular conversation on the lips of people? Is it something that people think is important? Or is it just UNICAL, or go through your own season, other people will go through theirs. We have a way of surviving these things in this country. Don't worry, it will be over soon enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? But now let's look at the university management. I want to ask this question. Do you think that the university management acted in ignorance or negligence, or it was intentional exploitation? Because people have come out to say, I think the Vice Chancellor came out to, I forgot how she put her own statement, but it didn't exactly feel like there was even remorse. It was almost like, oh, we have passed the quota, the students will not be able to continue, we're still looking for ways forward. And I'm like, hey, what are you trying to say? I've spent 6 years here. You're just looking for ways forward. What exactly is the way forward? So let's now hold the university accountable at this point. Do you think, what's your own opinion about how this thing escalated?
I don't think this has anything to do with ignorance, because I feel like every university already know the capacity, or how many students they can actually carry, or the capacity they have in, ensuring that they are, instilling the right values and education to the, to the students. So you coming out to tell me that it's based on ignorance, I think this is something relating to probably maybe financial gains or something. Yeah, if this comes out wrong, please, I apologize. But it is what it is. Let me use your term now. I remember when I did diploma in law, right? And then, so this is it here. When we wanted to start diploma and all, they didn't tell us that, oh, there's a particular amount, they are going to collect from people that did diploma in law. There's, a certain amount that they would enroll, for them to continue the LLB, that's 200 level and all, right? So when you start, you don't, of course, have that information. But then when you now want to, sit up for, the 200 level and all, that's when they'll not tell you that there's a certain amount of, people. So I believe this is me saying that every university know how many students they are actually supposed to, accommodate for that certain time or that certain period. So coming out to tell me that it's based on ignorance, I actually beg to differ. It's a lie. Do you understand? So having said that,
heavily suspect.
It has to do with financial gains or something. But then my problem now is the fact that, just like you said, you've done this thing. The harm has already, has happened already. So the question now is, what exactly are you doing to ensure that these students are not wasting their time? Already it looks like they're wasting their time, they're wasting their resources and all of that. But what do we do to salvage this, this problem? So the fact that keeping mute is not the solution. Acting like you're not seeing them protest and all is not the solution. So I'm expecting that they come out, and even having them coming out to come and apologize or no is not what I actually need right now.
True.
Is to, what...
Because apology is very easy.
I'm sorry.
We saw an apology where someone had to also cry. So apology seems like a very easy thing. Just call a secretary, someone who knows how to write or compose good English, and everybody is crying
just put all the I'm so sorry, this didn't happen. It's English now. But that's not what we want, like I said. at this point, we are expecting solutions like probably the students should probably wait and, wait for, these particular people that you have now to finish, then you bring them back. I really don't know what it is. Or you send them to, transfer them to other schools that can actually take, the courses. That is what we are expecting to happen. So you keeping mute or acting like, oh, it's based on ignorance. What the hell is ignorance? It's not working for me. I'm so sorry. It's not.
I understand you perfectly, God's beauty. So the solution you mentioned about taking them to other schools can't even work because particularly the quota was not just a university thing. It's from the regulatory bodies. There are some certain courses in university that are not just controlled by the university system itself, but regulatory bodies. And many of these courses are medical-related courses, dentistry, medicine, I think a bit of law, and maybe some other social sciences courses. There are some courses that the university decides the number that they want, and the whole 100% responsibility comes from them. But you see this particular one, MDCN is like the major stakeholder to all of this happening. So at some point, I'm understanding that, the university, even if they want to offer help in that sense, they are still handicapped. Their hands are tied because there's a quota, there's a body that they defer to that tells them how things are to be done. The last time I was having this conversation, I mentioned that, firstly, this problem, even though we're going to blame the universities and, MDCN and all the regulatory bodies, it's firstly a systemic problem where regulation is very slow. I mean, if you're a regulatory body, why would you be doing regulation after some people have been in the school for 5 years, 6 years?
Imagine.
You did not know before that. I think regulation should happen as frequent as possible. I remember in secondary school then, there used to be this force about, when inspectors are coming to school. It was like a one-off thing. So when they are coming, everybody's just trying to put their best. Do you understand? So it's almost like a fake thing. Because Nigerians even like to fake things. On the story not very long ago, we saw how that, NUC, going across different universities to accredit some courses, realized that some schools were fraudulent.
Yes.
In the sense that they would bring in fake lecturers, fake, just do something for optics. Let's make them think that we are really running this thing here. And maybe these regulators themselves, they've been bribed. Do you understand? Because the regulator is supposed to be non-biased. So maybe they've been bribed. They just come in to do 1 or 2 checks. Say, okay, you have this, you have that, you are accredited. I don't want to imagine that that's the case of MDCN. But at least MDCN also has a blame in this. Because why did the regulation take this long? The students affected here are not just 100-level students. Some of them are also in 500 and 600 levels. So that's the part of the story that I don't yet understand. Because the fact that they waited this long for it to have escalated this far, do you understand, shows that there's a lot of systemic issue, not just from the university itself, but from the regulatory bodies. Now, coming back to university, pardon my rolling of tongue. Going back to the university, I think that what you mentioned is really, really profound. There's a lot of expectation that happens, but can we really blame the universities? Do you know why I would say so?
Tell me.
Look at what lecturers are clamoring for in our universities today. What do they want? They need money to run the system. They need money to run a lot of things. So sometimes it feels like if you can't get this money from the federal government, from the quota that they're supposed to allocate to us, we get it from the students. That's why across board, you see different federal universities skyrocketing their school fees. It is, in fact, it's a discussion that will come back to one of these days. Federal universities used to be the university that, even though you are struggling, you can afford 15, 20K to go to school. Now, federal universities are collecting hundreds of thousands. I was lucky to probably escape it because I was in my final year at that point when the increase happened. But it still touched me small. Do you understand? But thankfully, I think there was a scholarship that covered my final year program, so I really didn't feel the brunt of it. So there's also that part of schools not being funded appropriately. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. We've seen stories of how, we spoke about it for the headline this morning, that, what's it called now? The minimum wage doesn't even apply to some schools. I'm not talking of higher institutions now, like public secondary schools and, some other institutions, education institutions that are not really following these same guidelines and rules. So I'm looking at that maybe the reason for this exploitation could have also been because we are looking for money. I'm just putting everything down, like take what you can make of it in that sense. Maybe they needed the amount of money. Also, I'm looking at the quota that MDCN set out. I know that every body, they have the reasons for doing what they do.
Yeah.
They've said that the reason for this quota allocation many times is so that they can really have effectiveness in teaching, and they have the resources, you know, to cater for everyone, because they're very sensitive costs. You can't come and be doing dentistry and you're packing 1,000 students and you can't even reach everybody. Because it's not just fine arts we're doing. We're not dancing. We're literally catering.
That's not shade, but
that's not shade, but that's the truth. There are some courses that you see like 1,500 in a class.
Yes.
I mean,
even more than.
in fact, I wanted to call a particular
that's what I'm telling you to rest.
There are some courses my friends will tell me they go to class, actually 100 level students, they're at the back. If you don't come early, you will not know what's happening.
Yes.
So, of course, we can't have that kind of number in a critical course like the medical field. You are going to produce fake doctors. Somebody said one time that some of these doctors are using ChatGPT to do their exam. God, I beg you. I don't want to go to the hospital.
My body.
And someone is saying, my patient feels this way. What
don't
can
do
be
that.
done?
No way.
So I understand that there's a lot of like scrutiny in the number of students that should be put in there. But also, if you look at the educational landscape as well, we have a number of students that are intelligent, passionate, and really have what it takes to be good dentists in our country or even in any medical space. So what could have been done? I think if it was a resource thing, make the resources available. Right. If the school knows that they've passed the quota, why not now increase your capacity to be able to take it? Because I don't think they've banned that, oh no, we don't want this number of dentists in the country. Because I think when we're discussing with the guests, I'm talking a lot now, but trust me, when it's education, I'm going to talk. When we had the guest the other time, he mentioned that there was even a shortage of dentists. Like, they even need these people in our country. Look at generally, we have a lot of doctors going
Medical
abroad.
doctors.
So we even need them. There's the demand for them. The reason why we're not accepting a number of them in some of these schools is because the resources can't cater for them. So we have a lot of, context to this story, and it's really, really hitting deep. We can talk about it now and discuss it as a social concern, but we are really not in the shoes of this UNICAL students that are at the brink of starting all over again, even when we know how difficult it is sometimes. Let's take a breather, a short break. When we come back, we'll look at the recent legal controversies as well and see, the headway from this. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
All right, welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us. We've been having very, very heated conversation around the UNICAL controversy and what's really going on, currently. So, yeah, the background introduction, showed us that the students currently are going through, they're having a protest to bring their cry and their, problems to the public, and specifically to some people that should really be at the forefront to ensuring that they get the change that they want. So my question now is, what do you make of this? Do you think that it's strategic or it's just desperate, or do you think that this can actually even give them the answers that they desire, or should they start looking for other? I mean, look at some of the comments there. Okay, they've taken that picture away. I wanted to read one of the, let me see if it'll come back. Okay, it's not back yet. But basically, what do you think about this whole, you know, protests that have been staged by the students for a constitutional review at this point? Is it strategic? Do you think that it will actually make headway, or it's just a desperate one and they just need a way out?
I mean, I feel like we already know what protest is, the cost. I mean, what exactly protest is supposed to help us do, right? Look at other African countries, not to mention name now. But you see that for every time that they protest, or for every time they come out to say certain things about, you know, what the problem is and how they feel, you see that the government is actively involved and ready to, you know, help them out with whatever the problem is. But here in Nigeria, most of the times when we protest, you know, they just give us one bag of rice and case closed, church agbasala. You get the point.
So, it's just Fukibo now.
Yes, I mean, so I would say it's strategic, given that, you know, it's something that it's really pressing, right? And like you said, I mean, a person where they wear the shoe, and I know how, you know, you take the pain exactly. So I feel like, you know, they protesting is something that is really, really important, right? And I like the fact that, you know, there's a difference between, you know, protest and riot. Most of the times, you know, we do both of them at the same time. But I like the fact that, you know, they are protesting and not, you know, constituting a nuisance in that sense. And I just hope that, you know, the people that are supposed to hear them out will, of course, hear them out. But like I said, here in Nigeria, most of the times when we protest, you know, to ensure that certain things, I mean, we are heard and certain things are done the right way, they just give us one bag of rice and, you know, we close it. So I hope that in their case, it's not just one bag of rice that will be given to them,
they don't
a
need
permanent
rice,
solution.
I don't think they are hungry
No, so
people.
that's
okay, in quotes.
Exactly.
There's nothing rice related to these people.
So what I'm saying is them giving them more like a temporary
solution.
Exactly. So what I'm asking for is a permanent solution. That's what I mean by that.
But actually, don't you think a short-term solution will even be best for them at this point? Because the long-term solution would go